Hey there, my friend. This is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project podcast. In just a moment, you're going to hear a powerful and inspiring conversation between myself and one of our Fit Father Project program members, Tony Shivers. Tony is 42 years young, and earlier this year in January, he joined our Fit Father 30X program because he needed to lose some weight. And there are a lot of things going on in Tony's life, as you're going to hear in just a moment. One of those is Tony's weight had creeped up over the years of just being a dad, going through work and accumulating weight into the high 300s. And Tony wanted to get down into the 200s, but he didn't exactly know it was possible. But what Tony did do is he started. He decided to take the first step. And one of the most inspiring parts about the story is that there's a lot going on in Tony's family life. His wife actually has a rare eye disorder where she recently lost her vision. Yes, like completely lost her vision. So imagine this. Here's Tony in his young 40s. He has a daughter who's around 9 years old. He has his wife who just lost his vision. And he knows deep down that his health is not on point. And there are so many guys in Tony's situation that literally would have just like given up or would have thought it wasn't possible. But that was not Tony's story. He decided that there was hope and that he was going to try again to see if he can make some changes and get himself ready to be there, to step up for his family and to be there for himself, the greatest version for himself. And that's exactly what Tony did. To date, he's lost over 60 pounds. He's made incredible shifts to his mindset. He's now strong. He's kicking butt with his workouts. He's able to support his family and guide them towards greater health. So this is just a wonderful conversation that you're going to find a lot of inspiration. And I want to make a couple specific notes. I want you to hang out until the end of this episode where one of the last questions I asked Tony is about a couple pieces of advice that he has and perspectives. And I think he shares a couple things, particularly around running your own race, that is so important for us to hear. So without further ado, let's get into today's amazing episode with Fit Father Tony Shivers on the FFP podcast. All right, Tony, welcome officially to the Fit Father Project podcast, my friend. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Doc. Really appreciate you extending the invite and having me on.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. And to kick this off, like we always do, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to all the guys listening, your name, your age, where you're from, and anything you'd like to share about your family and what you do for work.
All right. My name's Tony Shivers. I live in Northern Virginia. I live in Centerville, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C. My wife, Jessica, and then we have a 9-year-old, Liliana. And for work, I work as an associate marketing director for a nonprofit, or it's a professional association. So all our members are landscape and lawn care professionals. And what I do is I help spread the word on our programs and services and training offerings so they can take their business to the next level. So as like with many of the guys that are on here, you know, it's a busy job. And it has its own stressors and whatnot. So, you know, typical dad things. And one major life thing that changed for my family is over the past few years, my wife lost her vision. So as you can imagine, you know, number one, that's a major impact for her. And then for the whole family too, we got to totally revamp how we do things. And then it forces me to step my game up too. So, you know, I got to be there for my wife even more and help my daughter out with certain things even more too. So,
man, I mean, that's tremendous. Has she lost her vision completely?
Yeah, she has a rare disease called retinitis pigmentosa, and it was gradual over time. So yeah, it was definitely a big trying thing for her. And but now, you know, she's doing good. She's in grad school to become a school counselor because she was a teacher. But then, you know, losing your vision, it's hard to, you know, maintain a full classroom. But now going forward, once she's a counselor, she'll be able to still help children, but it'll be more on a level that's approachable for her. And then for me, I need to be the best version of myself so I can fully support my wife and Lily.
I got to say, man, I mean, your wife is lucky to have you, and she sounds like she has an incredible spirit. Like to continue to move through this and just make the pivots and the shifts and to go with the flow of what's happening, like powerful. And I want to ask you too, how is this experience with your family coincided with the timeline of you starting to take your health more seriously? Were these things exactly lined up? Like shifts are happening in your family, I know we need to get healthier. Has this been brewing for a while for you where you wanted to get your health back on track?
Well, for me, for getting my health back on track, it's kind of a story you hear from a lot a lot of guys, like it's been years, like over time. In college and in my 20s, I stayed in pretty decent shape. I was always bigger, but I could still play full court basketball, and I had all my health markers and everything were good. And then in my 30s, after I got married and we had Lily, things started to slip over time, and I would try things here and there. Like I did P90X, like a lot of the people did, but of course it works, but then it's not sustainable, right? And I've had different ups and downs, trying different things, and then eventually, when my wife's vision loss happened, that was a big hit, and I was still doing my up and down thing, and COVID hit, and that added a whole new range of things. But I eventually, for myself at home, the home life was changing because with all these other changes happening, and then I wasn't healthy, so it caused stress at home. Like I would be more quick to be irritated or just don't have energy, or they need me to do something. I'll just be like, oh, I don't really want to do it. And then eventually it came to a point where me and my wife, we sat down and we just had to have a real heart to heart. And I thought, I think one of the big reasons that I wasn't being the best version of myself was just because I was so heavy and I wasn't making the right choices I needed to do. So I thought, if I really refocus and find like a sustainable way to do this, it'll help besides helping myself, it'll help life for my wife and for my daughter too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a powerful realization that you had there in that moment. And for context, at that time when you were starting to have those conversations and make those thoughts, what was your height and your weight starting off when you're at your heavy point there?
5'11", my heaviest. I mean, it's embarrassing now, but I know to help other guys too. I was at 376, and by the time I started, I did do. I just following like fads and whatnot. I just thought, oh, low carb is what you're supposed to do, or keto is what you're supposed to do, and I tried those. I mean, maybe they're successful for some people, but it wasn't long term for me. But I did lose some weight off of that, and then by the time I did start with a Fit Father Project, I was at 346. And that was where I started at with you guys.
And what are you at today at the time of us recording this?
At the time of this recording, I'm at 286. So.
Nice. It's got to be nice to have a 2 in front of that number, huh? That's been a long time coming.
Exactly. When I finally broke out of the threes, it was just like, oh, wow. I was just so excited. Internally, I was just excited, and then I shared it with the brothers too, just so because other guys are in my position too, that it's possible.
Yeah. So let's talk about like the start of the program. You're motivated, you want to make some deep changes. Like talk to me about the first 30 days or so, when we can get into what it was like reading over the program material, writing a mission statement, initial workouts, getting set up on the meal plan, like anything you want to share about the initial setup phase of your journey.
Sure. So it was like January of this year is when I first started to like try to find what to do. And I thought, like in my professional career, for example, the first time I had to supervise someone, I was like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do. And I was researching online, and I found podcasts and things like that helped me in that regard. And so I was like, you know what, let me try that for this too. And so I was just searching on YouTube for podcast for guys. I think I even put like fathers, busy dad, something, lose weight. And I came across you, the Fit Father Project. And I was like, okay. Even then I was still skeptical just because I've done all the fad ones that weren't sustainable. But then for me, I watched all the videos of the guys that had already gone through it. And I could see a lot of myself in them. And sometimes even if they weren't like me, that was also good too, because you could see that no matter your situation, this is the kind of program that works for any guy. And also being skeptical too, I also just searched out you doing interviews on other podcasts, and it was the same story. So I was like, oh, this guy's genuine. And I mean, I thought you were genuine from the Fit Father Project content. And then it really put it over the head when I saw you on other podcasts that were not related to Fit Father Project. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a chance. And then even then, I just did the Apex 8 and the free meal meal plan
Yeah.
guidance type thing. And I went through that. I lost 10 pounds just doing that, and kind of like, half doing the nutrition, not really being all in. So I said, okay, I'm seeing benefits from this. So I might as well sign up, even if it doesn't work out, whatever. Mm-hmm. And one other thing I just wanted to say, I wanted to give a special shout out to one of your staffers, Jen, because during the free trial period, I would ask questions. And I was thinking in my head, oh, she's going to like give me some hard sell. Whoever, if a human even answers it, it's going to be some hard sell. But no, she just answered honestly and wasn't like, oh, act now and do this. So I was like, oh, okay, these people are genuine too. Even the people that are responding to customers are great too. So let's give it a go. And that's how I eventually went all in and signed up.
That's awesome. And I'll give kudos to Jen. I'll make sure she listens to this episode because that'll make her really happy that you're here now recording this from like that moment of sending an email. So we definitely we pride ourselves, or like, I don't, pride's not the right word, but we genuinely care. And I'm so glad that was something that got you over the hill to want to try this out. So how is it different when you're starting on the Fit Father meal plan, when you're actually in FF30X, you're going over the nutrition setup steps? What was like big aha moments, or how was it different from what you might have tried in the past with just like a keto or a low carb, or maybe some different perspective shifts? Because I imagine there's both like some tactical stuff, like drink some more water, eat these kinds of things, but also maybe some perspective shifts that happen. I'd love to hear about the nutrition first, basically.
Sure. And even real quick, even before the nutrition, the one thing that really stood out was doing your mission statement and doing a lot of the mental internal prep work before.
Let's go there first then. Let's talk mission statement first, and then we'll get into nutrition, because that is step one of the program. So let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually a really like a mind-blowing thing for me, because doing other things, you just jump right in, like, here, eat this. Here's your workout. But here you really got to do the internal work, and it really helps drive within yourself like why you want to do this and why you want to improve for yourself, why you want to improve for your family. So I think doing that and going through all the steps, I mean, it took me a few days just to go through everything and make sure I have it to where I feel it's in a good space to proceed. I think that really sets you in the right frame of mind to like really then start and dive in on the nutrition and the workouts and everything.
Yeah. So you mentioned many of the things, but was there anything that you wrote down as your initial mission statement? Maybe like what your goal was over the 30 days, some habits you were going to drop or change. And then I know you were doing this largely for both your family and yourself, but do you have your mission statement handy, or anything about that you could share specifically?
Yeah, I did say, I want to lose 15 pounds in the first 30 days. And then, for most of the family things I already touched on, but then also for myself too, I just want to be healthy. I want to be able to go to a store and just buy normal clothes, or this is kind of a typical thing for a lot of the bigger guys. Like, just if I'm going to a restaurant, not have to worry about the seating. So like if there's a booth and the table is fixed, like, it shouldn't be an issue for me. Lots of tangible things like that. I like playing basketball, and I gave that up just because I got too out of shape, and so like eventually I want to get back into playing rec league basketball and those sorts of things. So definitely the deep within, like the family reasons, being the best version of myself. We try to teach our daughter to do that, and I'm like, how can I teach her to do that if I'm not doing that? Right. So those are a lot of the big mental things that for me really set me up for success from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it's clear that you got aligned on those deep reasons. And now I guess we can go to like step 2 of the setup, which is really getting into the nutrition. So the previous question is like, what was kind of like eye-opening for you going through having tried stuff in the past? You try the Fit Father nutrition approach, you start to apply things. Like, what were you experiencing, and what did you kind of like learn or start to change?
Yeah, one thing for me that I never realized, but I found out now that's like been a big assist, is like having a regimented breakfast, a regimented lunch, and then dinner can be more freestyle with the family. So like in the past, I would just wing it all the time. And sometimes for me, you take the lazy way and just get a drive-through or get for something in a box or something unhealthy. But this way, I know I'm going to have a shake in the morning, or like eggs or something, and then like have a regimented lunch too, like a go-to. So I'm not thinking about it like, I have this lunch prepped already, or I'm having leftovers from dinner. And then with dinner, we try to, have it together as a family. And then there we could, come together as a family and figure out a common meal for everyone. So those are big things. And then also for me too, learning that carbs aren't bad. It's just that, like in the past, maybe I was eating like, I mean, not maybe, I was eating like way too much or like a huge portion of it. And then here, like with the perfect plate, you can track, you can use MyFitnessPal or whatever, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like you learn like, oh, this is a correct amount of veg, this is the correct amount of a healthy carb, and this is the protein. So for me, having those guidelines in there and like taking a lot of the guesswork out was a big deal. And then also, Leslie, sorry, I know I'm dragging on about
No,
the
you're not.
nutrition.
No, for sure. That's very
Is
useful.
I learned over time that it's customizable. Like not each guy doesn't do the exact same thing. So that was also a big thing for me too. It was like, oh yeah, no wonder this works, because everyone, you kind of like get in your groove and find what works for you.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it sounds like, I mean, with those simple enough meals, like you did the shake, you have a regimented lunch, you're flexible with dinner, so it fits your family life and you can still have carbs. And I think I'm glad that you got to that point where many people who come from a super keto, low carb are become very carb phobic, where you've now realized, and it's tough, right? It's tough to live your life on a very, very, very low carb for a long period of time. And so it's cool that you're able to find the balance and, and have healthy dinners with your family and, and some that maybe are not as healthy, but still be on the plan, right? I mean, it's about this kind of like sustainable approach.
Yeah. And that's it. I'm glad you mentioned that too. Cause like, during the plan, I mean, you learn that, you might indulge like maybe once a week or whatever, when you feel comfortable, but then to just go right back to it the next meal. Yeah. So whereas in the past, I would just like, screw it. And like, it's the whole weekend's gone and you just throw caution to the wind. Where now I know like, oh, I planned it out. I'm meeting up with my boys this weekend, or for dinner, we'll do, whatever. But then like the very next day, the very next meal, I'll just get right back on to the normal lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's massive. I mean, that's the difference between being off track like for months and then gaining more weight versus just like it's all part of the plan, just small deviations. That's awesome. All right, so you play basketball, used to be you love to be active, yet at the same time you found yourself in like, mid to high 300s, and you were now starting to do some new exercise with Fit Father Project. What was it like getting your body moving again, doing the Apex 10, Apex 8, and like what was the workout portion? And I'm also curious, when did you slide these workouts in? How many did you do per week as you're starting? Let's talk about the exercise component for you.
Yeah. Even when I was at my worst, I would still like do some kind of workout like once a week, and I would get at least walking in with my with my dog or whatever. But for me, I just jumped right in and did the workouts. But for example, I did modify. So like I did push-ups on my knees, for example. It's part of the Apex. And now, that was a big deal too. Now I can do it off the floor.
Good.
Even still being a bigger dude. And, I started off with just the 10-pound dumbbells. And now when I have done Apex again, I've used like 30s and 40s.
Whoa.
So
dude,
it's
that's incredible. I mean, I'm like, just to say, you could take there's many high school and college athletes that could not complete the Apex with 30s or 40s off the bat. So that gains in fitness is like serious.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And I think that's another thing too I realized is going through Fit Father Project is that you can lift and lose weight. Like like the stereotypical thing, you think you just got to do like hours of cardio or something.
Yeah.
Like I got to be on the treadmill for an hour. I got to do the elliptical for an hour. But here you learn, you're still lifting. And then with the MRT style workouts, it's like lifting and cardio together. But one thing I've learned through the education and through everything here is, when you do some kind of resistance training, you're still burning calories throughout the day. Whereas when you're just doing cardio, it's like just in that window that you're doing it. So it's been like a big epiphany. And like most guys you like to sling the iron around more than just doing long cardio. So that's been helpful too.
Nice.
For sure.
How many, like following the program, when did you get your workouts in? How many times per week as you've been losing weight? What's been the schedule that's kind of worked for you with everything you have going on with work and family?
Yeah, I think everyone's got to find what works best for them. For me, it's getting up early. So I get up early and I can knock it out before and before my family needs me for anything, before I got to start work and I got to check my work emails and anything. It's just like my time. So I just get up, get my my workout gear on and just go to it. And I just follow the schedule. So for me, I like to have Sunday as my rest day, with church and family and football now. So Monday through Saturday, I'm doing the workouts.
Nice. And that seems like a really good groove and pattern that you've been enjoying.
Yeah, for me. And then also I found like if there is something kablooey happens and I don't get my workout in the morning, I have the whole rest of the day and evening to to find a way to fit it back in. So it also has that buffer. So like if I do, for whatever reason, miss the morning, I can come back to it like after work or after dinner or whatever.
Cool. Now, this is a question that I think a lot of guys, especially our heavier guys starting out, be very interested in. Like, what was the rate and the trajectory of your weight loss? So like first week, first month, subsequent months. I mean, at this point, it's October, you started in January. So I imagine there's been some understanding and change of how your weight has kind of gone. Can you talk about just general like rates of weight loss, different milestones that you hit, that kind of idea?
Yeah, I think at first, when you first start, it'll probably drop quicker. Just because it's like a sudden change to your system and like you're starting to eat clean and get some movement in. So for me, I think like the first couple months I had the most rapid, and then like it will kind of level off, but still the overall trend is losing. And now sometimes there'll be weeks where I just stay the same. And one thing I've learned through the program and through all the guys and everything is you just got to keep at it. I mean, that's normal. It's going to happen. So I think at first at least from my experience, the first few months, you might have a quicker rate. And then you get to more of like a standard, like 1 to 2 pounds or whatever a week going forward. And sometimes, you might not lose, sometimes you might gain. And it's just if you look at the overall pattern, it's still trending down.
So let's talk about that. Did you track stuff? Like what did you track? How did you weigh? Did you take measurements? Like what were you using as like mile markers on your progress?
Yeah. So I would, for me, I was hesitant to weigh myself every day, but they encourage it, or in the reading materials, like, you know what, let me try it. So I did that. And then I made sure like every Saturday morning, just for me, that's been like my official weight of the, so that's what I would plug into the system. So it was educational for me too, because you can see that during the week, your weight fluctuates just normal life. And then like if you eat or you overindulge in something, you see how that affects you. So for me, I went by once a week for my official thing, but then I would still keep that in mind throughout. And then I also would have the printouts for the workouts, so I could just like handwrite in like it took me this many minutes with this many with this pound dumbbells kind of thing.
Nice.
So.
Good. All right. So let's talk about the inner game now. You're making these shifts, you're working the routine. How is some of your mindset, your emotions, and maybe even your spiritual health, like the internal aspect of your being, how has that changed throughout this process this year?
Yeah, I think one big thing for me this year is I just have more energy. Like when you get lose your way as much as I did, and you get unhealthy or heavy, you don't realize how much energy you should have, or a normal person should have. So then, like, as I think a lot of it too is just eating cleaner when you're starting to cut out unprocessed foods. Even before I lost so much weight, even in the beginning, I just felt like, I just feel better. I think like your body naturally just wants just clean, whole foods. Yeah. So energy was a big thing. And then also mindset. It reinforced to have a positive mindset, because I try to do that in other aspects of my life. But I realized that with my weight, I would use negative self-talk. And I was thinking, I would never talk like this to anyone else. Why am I doing this to myself? And I had to learn that, because, when I'm training a younger person at work, or when I was a youth group leader at church, I would never think to, you never think to talk the way you talk to yourself that you do to other people. So I learned that. And then that's one big thing with the brotherhood. That was a big game changer for me. As part of my job, I use social media. So I'm like, do I really want to join a group too in my free time and post? So I was like, okay. Then I thought, you know what? We're trying new things. Let's give it a try. And I was blown away. I was like, all these dudes, just all different walks of life, just all like are 100% in supporting each other. So that helped me a lot too. And I said, I'm just gonna start posting in here. It's outside of my comfort zone, but sometimes to make big changes, you got to do something outside your comfort zone.
For sure.
And so once I started doing that, it started helping. It helped me just to post about myself, and then mostly reading about all the other guys and their ups and downs and what they're going through. And then what really got me inside was like when people would reach out to me or like send me private messages saying, "Hey Tony, your post really spoke to me today," or when you're saying this, it really helped me out. I'm like, oh wow, I'm just me, just a regular dude, just a regular dad too. I'm not like a former Division I athlete. I don't have any of those things to fall back on, or not former military. I don't have those kind of habits to fall back on. So to have other people say, your post inspire them, it's like, wow, that's it's great internally too.
Yeah, for sure. It's like the own path of you just walking your path, bettering yourself. That's also inspiring people, means you're also giving and receiving. And I see it, man. And I know you've been a big inspiration in the groups. Our team has mentioned you several times with some of your posts, and like very grateful that you had the courage to I think go all in. And what we see is that the people who are willing to kind of just open up, follow the process, do uncomfortable things, share and be more vulnerable tend to have some of the best results because, it's just how it is. It's just kind of like that all-in commitment. I want to ask you too about your family. They've seen you make a lot of changes this year, your daughter and your wife. So what's it been like, with them, experiencing you making these changes, supporting you, anything they've maybe said about the changes you've made or how it's really affected your family life?
Yeah. It's really been a positive because, the healthier I got, the better my mood and my energy was. So that alone was a big boost in the family. And then number two, it's been great. My wife's been really supportive, and it's also like by proxy, like helping them. I mean, they're both healthy anyway, but it helps them we'll have more healthy snacks like fruit or whatnot, and less packaged snack treats and things. And there's still some, but there's it slowly evolves. And then if we're having dinners together, there's going to be a healthy basis to it. So that's been a big thing. And then it's really funny what they say about kids. Kids notice what you're doing, even if they're not always saying it. So my daughter will sometimes hey dad, let's go play, or let's go outside and do something, and I'll go do it. Whereas in the past I might grumble or even if I go do it, I don't have the energy to keep up with her. And then one thing that really got me was one time I overheard her in the other room talking to her friends, and she's like, "Oh yeah, every morning my daddy is always lifting weights and working out." And she likes to make a joke that I always talk about protein because I know I lean into that. Yeah. So I know my basis is I need to have a good clean protein whenever I eat. But she's like, "Oh, Dad's always obsessed about protein and getting his exercise in the morning." So it's like, "Oh wow, she does. In her way, she notices, but she also says she's proud of me too. So that's always good."
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. Yeah, and it's she's now being raised in a healthier environment, which I know is just going to help her, over the next several years. And hopefully it gives her a basis of healthy habits that maybe you didn't exactly have. And maybe she can head off some of these problems in her own life. So that's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what being a fit father is all about, for sure. I want to ask you, where are you headed? What's next for you? I know at this point, you're a part of your way there and you want to get down to continue losing some weight. So let's just say we fast forward from 1 year from now. So we're October 2023, which sounds crazy to say. Ideally, what's happened with your life and your body with one more year of work on this stuff?
Yeah, I think ideally a year from now, I've lost even more weight and more closer to an
What's
ideal
your number?
weight.
What are you looking at? What's your ideal number?
I don't know. I have stages. I think my first stage was to get to 250. which
Yep.
is even less than I was in high school when I had like a decent body fat percentage even. And then like once I get to 250, reevaluate from there, like maybe it's like 220, 210.
So
Like
we're
I'm
looking to
not
get to
sure.
250 now is the first kind of milestone, and
Yeah.
then do a reevaluation at that point.
Yeah. And like when I
Nice.
first started, my first mile marker was like, as we alluded to earlier, was just to break the 300s. And then, so yeah, that's my next mile marker.
Well, that's important insight. I think for like, especially these bigger guys who have a lot of weight to lose, you got to have these like monumental, you don't have to, but it helps to have these monumental mile markers. And no doubt you're going to get there and hit that 250, just working this plan. So that's really cool. And I'm excited for you on
Yeah.
that day when you step on the Saturday scale and you can say confidently, I've now been here. And then part of it's just like normalizing at these stages and just making this like the new normal as your body adjusts.
Right.
Cool. I love that. And then hopefully getting back on the basketball court. I'd love to see you tear it up there. That'd be cool.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want to, but I know you kind of do. So.
Oh, yeah. I definitely will.
That's cool. All right. Well, so what advice do you have, based on your experience this year for, some of the fit fathers in the brotherhood, maybe guys who are starting out or even guys who have been at this for close to a year like you have? What's some perspective or advice you can share that you think is very relevant?
Yeah, there's a few things I would say. Like number one is just start. Like don't overanalyze. Like even at the beginning, like I did do the free resources and like tried to work things out. But then you get to a point. It's like just start. Sometimes we get in our own heads and we way overanalyze, or we take things like we take too long. Like I'll start next week. This happened. I'll start next week. Now eventually at a certain point, just get to it. So that's one. Another thing I would say is to run your own race. Everyone's different. You can be the same height and weight as someone else, and you guys are not going to. Your life is not exactly the same. Your rates are going to be totally different, and that's okay. Like everyone's got their own thing going on. Everyone's got your own life circumstances going on. So I would say don't be discouraged if you're not losing at the rate of some of the other guys in the brotherhood, or don't. There'll be guys that are slower than you or faster, or, whatever it is. But just run your own race, and as long as you're improving yourself, then that's what matters. And you're stacking healthy habits. And then the other thing I would say is to have the positive mindset and don't limit yourself. Like you might think, oh, nobody knows me as the guy that works out. No one knows me as the guy that's healthy. You're like, well, why not? Why can't you change that? There's don't think to yourself, oh, I'll never be like that. Why not? Just go give it a try, and then you'll be amazed at what you can do. Like like even something simple as doing regular push-ups. I was like, man, I don't know when the hell I'll be able to do that again. And then eventually I can, and it's like, wow, that's something that beforehand, if I just kept that mindset, I wouldn't even try it.
Yeah.
So that's those are three big things I would say. And then lastly, one thing is if you do join Fit Father Project, is to take advantage of the Brotherhood, the Facebook group. Even if you don't post that often, at least just go read the post and check in. You'll gain a lot of knowledge, and it'll help you. So I would say take full advantage of that too.
I mean, that might be the mic drop. That was fantastic advice across the board. And I really resonated with the run your own race. And I think something that resonated with that too is that the race changes as you change, like in the stages of change. And like, so always keeping that in mind and doing these reevaluations. It's just great advice. I have a couple of final questions for you. And one is, to you, having experienced what you have, what does it mean to be a fit father?
I think to me, what it means to be a fit father is to value yourself and take the steps to improve yourself. Because a lot of times, even as dads and husbands, we think about everyone else first, but you can't help anyone else unless you have your own self in order. So to me, being a fit father means you value yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself for your family.
Yeah. Great answer. And is there anything that's been left unsaid? Because we've covered a lot of ground in 30 minutes and it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that hasn't been said yet that you'd like to at this point?
I'm just trying to think. Non-scale victories, that's one thing you learn about in the Fit Father Project. So it's not always just, the weight dropping. It's like how your clothes fitting. The booth example I gave earlier, I posted also in the group about this. When I had a business trip for my work, I could buckle the seatbelt in the airplane without needing an extender. And when someone that's really heavy, you know what that is. And so this time I was like, oh wow, this is a great thing. So take acknowledge the little successes you have along the way too. Is what I would say.
Well, another valuable nugget here, Tony. Thank you for coming on today and sharing your wisdom and your beautiful energy. It's very clear that you're full of life and joy, and I wish you another fantastic year of health and progress, and that you hit the 250 very soon, or whenever that happens, I guess I should say. And thanks for being a fit father, man. Thank you for having the willingness to go search this stuff out, and for being a beacon of light in our community of what's possible. And I'm just really proud of you, man. Thank you so much.
No, I really appreciate it. Thanks to you and the whole team and everyone that is behind Fit Father Project. It really does make a difference in so many people's lives. That what you guys are doing, I really appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it.